Excuse me, is this event going to be recorded?
It is going to be recorded and
Thank you.
Live. Give me a moment here. One more moment.
Our sound.
All right. Welcome everybody to our summer conference, to our Macrobiotic Online Summer Conference on this hot day in Massachusetts. And yeah, we're very excited for the first time. We're also live streaming a few of the sessions at the same time. That's why I was a little bit back and forth. And Alex and Danka, please.
Yeah, good evening, everyone, and welcome to our Online Macrobiotic Summer Conference. Good to see so many of you. We have a very exciting lineup this year. I think about a third of our teachers are new, at least to our conferences. And we have many young teachers from around the world and from this country. And we have a lot of exciting new different events, but also many seasoned teachers. So there's quite a bit of continuity. And I think hopefully everybody will get to know each other, particularly through the open discussions. Many of the old friends have participated in these in the past and welcoming several new friends. So Bettina, Danka, do you want to say hello?
Hello, good evening. It's wonderful to see everyone, and I hope you will enjoy this conference as much as we will.
All right, so Bettina, do you have some housekeeping matters to review?
Yes, and Brian, by the way, I do see your comment in the chat. This is my computer. It sometimes turns the fan on and I have no control over it. There's nothing I can do, unfortunately. I wish I could just turn it off, but I can't. So there will be a little bit of background noise. I would ask everybody in general, when, there is a presenter, that you mute yourselves, especially when you're coming in, as to not disturb the presentation. However, when we are interacting with the presenter, when there's questions and answers, please not only unmute yourself to ask the question, but it would also be very much appreciated if we could see your face, because it makes much more, for a real connection with everybody. So that would be really lovely. I have it set up so that every day at 9 a.m. you should receive the invite, the Zoom invite. If you're on Zoom with us for the full conference, then you should receive by 9 a.m. the Zoom invite for every day with the schedule and also the recipes for the cooking classes for that particular day. If you haven't received it by 9, first of all, please check your spam and junk folder, and then also if you still don't see the email from me, Bettina Zumdick at gmail.com, then please email me and I will manually send you the link, the invite. You can, of course, adjust your format here. You can make it into gallery view or speaker view. However, at the moment, I have Alex, Danka, and myself spotlighted, so you can probably not change the format very much. Yeah. I would also appreciate, in general, for the conference going forward, for the whole conference, when you join at the beginning of the sessions, because sometimes, I work in the background. I don't look at everything that is going on, and sometimes somebody says, "Oh, I didn't get admitted right away." That's because I'm not looking at, every at the screen every moment. Anything else, Alex or Danka, that you can think of?
No, we'll go over the schedule in a moment. There are a few changes and some updates, and
Well, the schedule that they have is the latest schedule. Okay, so let's go over the schedule. Let me look at where that is. Oops, no, that's not it. I'm sorry. Okay, there we go. Okay, can you see that, Alex?
yes, we can see.
Okay, so this is the final schedule, and of course that is with an asterisk, subject to change. As always, as before, sometimes we have unforeseen changes that are occurring. However, this is what it looks like right now. Tomorrow we will start with a lecture with Susan Krieger, who will share on Chinese medicine, ghost and spirit points. And I'm sure if you've listened to this winter's conference on her lecture, you are probably really excited to see this section as well, because she has really shared a wonderful presentation last time, very insightful. Then we will have cooking with Dawn Ludwig, who is the head of, or who used to have the Austin Epicurean Culinary Arts School. Is that
some kind of gourmet Epicurean macrobiotic school in Austin, Texas for many years.
Yeah. Then I will share a lecture on menu planning, and then Flora Marquez will join us with energy shift exercises, and then we will have our first open discussion forum with Donna and Mark. And if you have been at our conferences before, of course you're well familiar with them. We will introduce them in just a moment again. And finally, on Thursday, tomorrow, we will have a keynote lecture with Denny Waxman. Am I a tinfoil head bona fide conspiracy theorist, or am I? Alex, would you like to take the second day?
Yeah, all right. So on Friday, on July 22nd, we'll be convening in the morning, and Danka will be giving the first cooking class, and it's summer dishes for your friends and family. That will follow with open discussion, and we have special guest Cynthia Van during the open discussion. Cynthia is attending the conference, the entire conference. I believe she's in the audience tonight, and she'll be talking. She's an expert on EMFs. She's been Amber Wave's longtime investigative reporter and researcher, and has written many wonderful articles about cell phones, and all the types of cooking, wood, electric, microwave, gas, induction. She's looking now at satellites and 5G. And anyway, she's really the go-to person for this, and we're really fortunate to have her. She'll be making a short presentation, and we'll take Q&A, and that's on Friday. That will be followed by Bob Carr. Bob Carr is a longtime director of the Macrobiotic Center in Cleveland. About 10 years ago or so, he moved to the Czech Republic in Central Europe, and he now has a macrobiotic farm and center there. And so he will be broadcasting from Central Europe on advanced diagnostic techniques. Then the late afternoon, Amber Mazzano, our longtime friend and colleague here in the Berkshires. She was the head of the kitchen at the Kushi Institute for several years. She's a master chef, really wonderful teacher. And so she'll be giving, what's her topic? Now has a macrobiotic.
Roots and mix.
Roots and wings. Yeah, I hope she's not cooking wings, but anyway.
No,
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 okay. So, and then,
that's more like metaphoric
metaphorical.
expression.
Okay.
Right. I mean, if you build your roots, you can expand yourself better. If you center yourself, if you ground yourself.
Okay. And then following that, I'll be giving a diagnosis presentation on world leaders in focusing principally on Putin, Biden, President Xi of China, Zelensky of Ukraine, and several others if we have time. Flora will be back for her afternoon exercise. Many of you know Flora. She's a longtime macrobiotic teacher and born macrobiotic in Brookline. Her parents were students of the Kushis. She's actually, believe it or not, she's a dentist as well as many other things. And she now lives in Brazil, and she'll be broadcasting her cooking class and also her exercises from Brazil. Then following that will be the open discussion in the evening. And then we have a special presentation in the evening keynote with John D. Liu. And John is one of the premier environmentalists of our era. And when I saw some of the movies of his work, I was totally astonished. I've never seen anything like it. He can take a landscape that's been polluted and destroyed, and in short order, it's blooming again with all kind of life and plants and animals, and totally organic, and anyway, totally amazing individual. Something like Mr. Fukuoka, who was the Japanese gardener, like 20, 30 years ago with the one straw revolution. He's kind of that kind of amazing individual. All right, so that's Friday, really full lineup. So Bettina, you want to take it again on Saturday?
So on Saturday morning, we'll start out with Alex's daughter, Maria Ivanov. She will be streaming a cooking class from Russia for us. We will once again have an open discussion, and at this open discussion, Donna Krug will also share a short presentation on fermentation, and she's here today as well. And after that, we will have a live-streamed interview with Christina von Drein and Nicola Good. And they are Christina is from Switzerland, Nicola from Germany. But yeah, I'm really excited about that. Christina is one of these young women that are really aware of her multidimensionality, of much more in general than most of us are. We are so stuck in our limited in our views that we miss many things, but so it's really exciting to have them there. Then Flor, who is also doing the energetic shift exercises, will be teaching us a cooking class from Brazil. So she will be sharing about tropical colorful rice, and we'll see what else. And after that, we have a longtime friend of ours doing a lecture, Abraham Ort, Living on Earth, Recollection of a Macrobiotic Meteorologist. He, after retiring from being a meteorologist, he decided that he was going to teach shiatsu, and came and taught shiatsu and what, craniosacral therapy, I believe, at the Kushi Institute.
Yes.
So he has, really expanded his views not only through science but also in other directions. So we are excited to have him. Flor will be sharing another energetic shift exercise, which really helps to, change our energy so that we are moving ourselves. I mean, it's wonderful to sit in front of the computer, but it's also good to work energetically within us so that we can improve our energy, that we can adjust our energy wherever needed. Then we will have an open discussion forum that is hosted by, oh no, that one was hosted, Judy and Larry will host theirs on Friday. This one is hosted again by Donna and Mark. And finally, we will on Saturday have a keynote lecture with Bill Spear, Making Lemonade, and I'm sure it's going to be a wonderful lecture, as I hear he is really an inspired presenter.
All right. And then on Sunday, the conference climaxes with many special events. In the morning.
I gotta trim it down.
Okay.
For sure.
Please mute
Let
yourself.
me mute.
In the morning, Sonia Jordao from Portugal will be presenting a cooking class beginning at 11 o'clock. The open discussions will follow. And then beginning around 1:30, there'll be a planetary health forum. For the forum, we've invited several of the previous recipients of the Michio Kushi Peace Prize, including Jane and Lino Stanchich, Dr. Neil Bernard, and Bill Terra, and there may be several others who will participate and talk about the world health and peace situation. And then following that, we'll award this year's Michio Kushi Peace Prize. There will be two recipients this year. One will be Bill Spear, who will be giving a major presentation the evening before, but he'll also be talking about gratitude. And I hope Bill has a chance to talk about some of his many projects around the world. He's one of the most dynamic macrobiotic teachers, and he has a charity called Fortunate Blessings that has been helping traumatized children during tsunamis and following natural disasters and warfare, and providing psychological counseling as well as healthy food. Anyway, he's a really amazing person. So, and then the second prize recipient is Mina Dobich. And Mina, I think, as many of you know, has been a macrobiotic teacher and counselor for over 30 years after healing herself of terminal ovarian cancer with Micho and Aveline's help. Unfortunately, Mina's brother just passed away this week, so she's unable to actually attend to receive the award, but we will be, I will stand in for her and read some remarks about something that she's written about her many adventures and travels in macrobiotics. And then following that, roughly around 4:30 will be the summer conference skit. And so this on your schedule there, it looks like the skit comes after the auction, but it's actually will be before the auction. And we've put together a really delightful skit. I think you'll all enjoy it. It's quite hilarious. Many of our friends will be participating in the skit, and it's called Happy Trails to You on Mount Macro. And then following that will be the auction. Doctor, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so this year we will be offering some rare food items, including a very special, delicious type of millet, which you will never cook dry. Then we have few very last packages of own rice. This time it's for eating, not for planting. Then we have food gift certificate from Eden Foods, several diet and health consultation and courses and other special things. So overall, the list is quite attractive, and we have already heard from several of our friends who previewed the item list that they are considering bidding on several items. We will send you the list of all the auction items on Friday, so watch out for it, and we hope it will be a fun event and you will all participate, as this is our major fundraising event during the year for the macrobiotic education.
Yeah, thank you, Daka. Daka's been teaching me we're listening to YouTube chants on how to do auctioneering, because we don't have the professional auctioneer this year. So we're tuning up for that. Then finally, the conference will conclude with a showing of the Spirit of Rice film, the documentary that we've been working on for the last couple of years. Thanks to many of you who've donated and other friends around the world, and the filmmakers, Marley Snyder, and then the director, Sherry Damaris, will be hosting that event, and will be, I think, live streaming that. Anyway, it's a very exciting documentary, and we're looking forward to presenting that. And then we'll have a very brief closing. So we hope to wrap it up by 7 o'clock on Sunday.
Very good. So, Donna and Mark, if you could unmute yourself, then let me.
Dina, my dear, just a suggestion. Once they are speaking, yeah, there is some noise on your background. If you can mute, I think it's coming. Now it's stopped. Yeah, there you go again. It's just me, or everybody can hear that?
Everybody can hear that because it's probably my computer and I can't.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, no problem. Just, I didn't know if you were aware. Sorry.
No, I'm aware, and I saw it, and give me a moment here. Where is it? Okay, so hello, Donna. Hello, Mark.
Hey, everybody.
So happy to be with everyone again.
Yes, pleased and privileged. We look forward to this every summer. And I don't know how many years it's been since we've had the Macrobiotic Summer Conference, but it's got to be, what, 20, 30 years? I have no idea. But the discussion group has been a great hit for all of us. And we're lucky to have Donna, who is not only an accomplished author and macrobiotic teacher, but also a now retired nurse, hospital nurse. And so she has many perspectives that can answer a host of questions. And it's my privilege to be with her and
Thank
work
you.
with her and to see all your faces, old and new. And should buy Donna's book if you haven't already. Had to get that plug in. It's really a great book.
No, and it's always been really exciting to listen to the discussion groups. So I encourage you to stay for the discussion groups, especially also if you have questions or if you want to discuss something, if you want to see different perspectives on something, because many times we're so locked in our own perception that we don't see anything else. But in these discussion groups, really, we can broaden our awareness a little bit. It's a great thing. So please join. And one discussion group, and that will be the discussion group on, on Friday in the evening, will be led by Judy and Larry McKenney, and many of you may already know them as well. They couldn't be here today. However, they are also teaching at the KI, hosting the Way to Health at the KI. So they have been with us for a long time as well, and we're excited to have them here as well. So if you have specific questions for Judy and Larry, please join us on the open discussion session on Friday evening from 6 to 7. Anything else from Donna and Mark?
Yeah, Donna, say something.
Well, the discussion groups are really nice to connect with each other, to offer support and ideas, to share recipes or stories or whatever is pertinent in your life at the moment, or on any particular day. It's nice to connect with other like-minded people. So yeah, they're great.
All right, very good. So thank you, Donna. Thank you, Mark. I think next we will go to Alex's presentation.
Okay, I need to share screen. Green thing around it. Advanced green thing.
This. Then you need to make it here first. Let me work on it further.
Yeah, I'm sorry, we're just setting up the screen here.
Like this?
Yeah. Oh, but I have to have my notes.
Then you can do that. Sorry, once more, please.
Okay, can you see that, Bettina?
Yes.
You can. Let's flip. Okay, I prepared a brief topic this evening on 9-star key, and I'm entitling it Prospects for War and Peace in 2022. I think, as many of you know, 9-star key is a traditional system of energy flow used to understand cycles of personal and social change. In comparison to yin and yang, the two complementary opposite energies that make up all things, and the 5 transformations, a more granular cycle based on tree, fire, soil, metal, and water energy, 9-star key reflects energy flow using a lens of much higher resolution. There are 3 types of soil, 2 types of trees, 2 metals, as well as a single fire and a single water. The natural or home position of the energies is illustrated in the magic circle or square with 5 soil in the center and the other energies arranged around it. And we call these the home spot, home position. Each of the 9 energies corresponds with a time of day, a season of the year, a direction, and organs of the body, and governs the key or energy flow as a whole. This year, 2022, revolves around 5 soil energy, and everyone is in their home spot, manifesting their true nature without taking on the qualities of another energy or position. 5 soil governs health and sickness, war and peace, birth and death, and other basic polarities in life. It's in the center. It blends all the other energies in the cycle and has no special time or season itself, though is generally related to early afternoon and to the pancreas, and controls such things as blood sugar levels in the body. Last year, 2021, was a 6-metal year, governed by more practical, down-to-earth affairs, while next year, 2023, is a 4-tree year that will see more idealistic and aesthetic or artistic pursuits. This slide shows that the major wars that broke out over the last century, beginning with World War I in 1914, World War II that went global with the attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941, and the Korean War in 1950, all began in 5 soil years. This year, Russia invaded Ukraine at the beginning of another 5 soil year. As educator Michio Kushi taught, the risk of world war is greatly heightened during a 5 soil year. So the big question today is, will the Ukrainian-Russian war turn into a world war? Will it lead to the first use of nuclear weapons since 1945 and possibly World War III? This is a very clear and present danger. When we study the spiral of history, the long arcing trajectory of human affairs, we find that history repeats itself to a degree in a logarithmic proportion known as the golden ratio. When we analyze the great conflicts over the last century, we find that they all converge on Ukraine. World War I, World War II, and now the Ukrainian-Russian war centered on Ukraine, the breadbasket of Europe and the granary for much of the world. In the case of World War I, control of the Bosporus and Dardanelles Straits in Turkey was the main strategic objective of both sides. Russia wanted to seize Istanbul from Turkey as a freshwater port for its massive amount of wheat from Ukraine. And when Germany started building the Berlin-Baghdad Railway, threatening to close the Turkish Straits in Russia, the die was cast for a global conflict among the great powers. The assassination of the Archduke in Serbia was only the match that lit the powder keg. The main action revolved over control and transport of the massive Ukrainian wheat supply to Europe and much of the rest of the world. In the case of the Second World War, Hitler's overriding objective was to seize the fertile grain lands of Ukraine and Russia in order to supply what he called Lebensraum, a German word for living space and farmland, for the German people. In 1939, Hitler and Stalin concluded an alliance and jointly invaded Poland 2 years later, Hitler invaded the Soviet Union and occupied most of Ukraine. The food supply chain broke down during the war, and Ukraine yielded very little grain or other food. And as hunger and starvation spread, concentration camps where the Germans had herded the Jews, the Poles, and other non-Aryans turned into death camps. The Nazis found it more efficient to annihilate millions of people rather than to feed them and use them for slave labor. Thus began the Holocaust. Today, Vladimir Putin's rationale for invading Ukraine is eerily similar to Hitler's. He refuses to recognize Ukraine as a sovereign country and wants to annex it to Russia and control its grain and natural abundance. Already, Russia's blockade of Odessa, the main Ukrainian grain port, has cut off the supply of wheat to an estimated 2 billion people, or 1/4 of the globe. Rising hunger and the threat of mass starvation have already intimidated most of Africa and large parts of the Middle East and Asia to remain silent about Russia's aggression. Vladimir Putin, president of Russia, is a three-tree, born in 1952. Three-tree corresponds with the beginning of the key flow and corresponds with the dawn and early spring. Three-tree people are very bright, idealistic, and have a strong sense of justice and being in the right, and they want to reshape the world into their image. In Putin's case, this is not a return to communism, but rather the greater glory of an expanded Russian Federation, akin to the imperial Russia of Peter the Great and Catherine the Great. Catherine was the sovereign who first invaded Ukraine in the late 18th century. She built Odessa, and she schemed to seize Istanbul from Turkey. In addition to being creative and eloquent, three-tree people can be extremely rigid, stubborn, and inflexible. When challenged, they can turn boastful, pushy, and reckless, as Putin's rattling of the nuclear saber over the last several months attest. Living in a bubble, in a world of fantasy, he has isolated Russia from the rest of the world, and he's isolated himself from his own people and cabinet. He's become hostage to his own ideological beliefs. He expected President Zelensky of Ukraine to flee or surrender. He suppressed internal dissent in Russia, and he ignored humanitarian pleas from around the world. In an Orwellian directive, he criminalized the use of the word war in connection with his invasion of Ukraine, and thousands of Russians who protest the war have now been arrested and face up to 15 years of imprisonment. Putin shares many traits with Adolf Hitler, who was also a three-tree. President Joe Biden is a four-tree, and four-tree corresponds with late morning and with late spring. It is more yin than three-tree. It is also idealistic and more mature. It has a larger, broader view of the world and its many interconnections. So four-tree, Biden is devoted also to reform and change, but he sees the inherent danger of nuclear escalation. He has strongly supported Ukraine's independence, but he's limited the response of America and NATO to ensure that the war does not escalate and bring Western forces into direct contact with Russian troops. Vladimir Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, is a five soil. And as we've seen, five soil is at the center of the key flow. Five soil people are natural born leaders. They have the capacity to unify everything around them, or conversely, to destroy it. Zelensky rose to the occasion, and he astonished nearly everyone with his firm command of the country in its darkest hour. As a tough and courageous wartime leader, he has refused to leave Ukraine. He's remained in Kiev despite assassination attempts. He's become a model of resistance, inspiring the country to unite around him and to defend Ukraine. He has tirelessly addressed Western parliaments, international summits, UN meetings, and created unprecedented internal solidarity and growing military and humanitarian support from NATO, the United States, the EU, and many other countries. A former comedian, he has become in 6 months the most popular and admired leader in the world, not since Winston Churchill during World War II or perhaps Ho Chi Minh during the Vietnam War, has a leader rallied an entire nation against seemingly hopeless odds. The danger with Zelensky, however, is that his passion, his defense of Ukraine, and his quest for more powerful arms may escalate the war and lead to a nuclear confrontation. Xi Jinping, the president of China, is a two-soil. China has not played a central role in the Ukrainian war, but has supported Russia and supplied a number of resources, though evidently not yet armaments. Two-soil corresponds with early afternoon and Indian summer. It's generally a more peaceful, serene energy. Xi's slow, cautious approach toward supporting Russia is characteristic of two soils. However, he has not hesitated in recent years to use force against the Uyghurs, the Islamic ethnic people in Central Asia, or in suppressing democracy in Hong Kong. He's made it clear that he intends to retake Taiwan, probably during the next term that begins this autumn. Chinese invasion of Taiwan could easily turn into a global war. Okay, the relation among the energies, as I think many of you know, there are two basic cycles. The one going outside in a supporting direction is a nurturing cycle. Tree supports fire, fire supports soil, soil supports metal, and so forth. The inner cycle, which skips every other energy, is the conflict or antagonistic cycle. So water controls, puts out fire, fire melts metal, metal cuts down tree, tree dams up soil, soil overrides water, and so forth. So this helps us to understand the relations among these world leaders and many others. This little chart just summarizes some of the energies that we just looked at. I put a few others here. For example, under 8 soil, I've listed Kim Jong-un of North Korea and Ying Wang of Taiwan. These are the two respective leaders of these small countries, but they're both 8 soil, I think, as some of you know, is a very idealistic energy, but it's also something of a wild card, very unpredictable. And so both of these are situated on the global stage, that again, something could provoke a much wider conflict, quite apart from Ukraine situation. But the natural relationship here, I think you can see, is that Putin, number 3, suppresses, his natural energy suppresses soil, including Zelensky. So this year, particularly 5-0 year, he had the upper hand and Russia invaded. So from his point of view, it was a good time to invade because Zelensky is off balance this year in comparison to him. Also, Biden, interestingly, overrides Xi of China. And so far, China has been relatively muted in its support of Russia, which is also a kind of a natural antagonistic relationship. Interestingly, the new Chancellor of Germany, Scholz, is a 6 metal, and he has the potential to override or suppress to some extent Putin. So even though he's kind of a neophyte on the world stage, we might look to him in the future to have some kind of, be able to perhaps help in some kind of peace negotiations. Anyway, he's a strong, potentially strong Western leader here. Okay, in addition to the yearly cycle, there's a monthly cycle, and the energies change every month. And it so happens like July, we're right now in, I think, what is it? 6 metal month. 6 is in the center, and in August, 5 goes into the center. So what this means is that the energy of the month and the year are the same. So it's a double 5 month or double 5 period. So this is potentially the most dangerous, most explosive month for the entire year. So all of us need to be mindful that particularly the Ukraine, Russia's situation, but potentially Taiwan, North Korea, Kashmir, India, whatever, any of these flashpoints around the world could very well erupt or worsen in August. So our thoughts, our prayers, any of our peace activities are more needed than ever during August. And that begins actually on I believe it's on the 7th of August, going to the 7th of September. The 9-star month is slightly different from the calendar month. Okay, that one prediction I guess I would make about coming events, particularly Ukraine and over here, Zelensky and Putin, is that next year, 2023, as I indicated, is a 4-tree year. 4 moves into the center, everything else rotates. Zelensky moves into the natural house of 6 metal, very strong, powerful, authoritative position. Putin moves up from 3 to 4-tree here. And that's generally a very good spot too. But 2 factors. Number one, this is a metal position, so it serves to cut or suppress tree energy. So next year we can predict that Zelensky will have the upper hand, that the dynamic is going to shift dramatically. And not only that, 3 is opposite 5. This is a very unique dynamic in 9-star key called Dark Killing Sword. And as the name suggests, when one is in this position, which happens every 9 years or every 9 months, one is extremely vulnerable. And it's not just to Zelensky or Ukraine, but it could be anything could happen to Putin next year, particularly in respect to his health or to any kind of coup or that kind of thing in Russia. I'll be talking a lot more about this in my presentation on diagnosis later in the week. But anyway, this is something to watch for next year because the tables are clearly turning. And Putin was able to take advantage this year, but next year he's going to be on the receiving end of this. So, and he'll be in a very strong position. So hopefully this could lead to at least a settlement or a peace agreement, an armistice, some kind of a brokered end to the horrific warfare that is now there. Okay, finally, I'd like to mention that in a 5-soil year, the tendency is not only toward war, but it's also toward peace. And in fact, at every level, from the individual to the family to the national and world stage, there's always the potential that peace can break out as well as warfare. It's just that given the momentum of our society today, the inclination is more toward conflict and war, but the potential is always there, and it's heightened in a 5-soil year for peace actually to emerge and to strengthen. And this year, one of the most optimistic events was just about a month ago when earlier this year, when the United Nations Treaty for the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons actually went into effect. This treaty was made in 2017. And the idea was to literally prohibit nuclear weapons on our planet. And right now there are 86 countries signed on. And just about a month ago in Vienna, 5 or 6 other countries joined this, and there's movement among several others. You can see from the map, most of Africa has joined, most of Latin America has joined, pockets of former Soviet Union, I think this is Kazakhstan, parts of Southeast Asia, Mexico. Anyway, this is an extremely hopeful situation because it literally makes nuclear weapons illegal on the planet. The downside, of course, is that none of the nuclear powers have signed on, including the United States, Russia, China, Israel, Britain, France, India, Pakistan. But anyway, there's a tremendous momentum here among many of the world's other countries, and this will only strengthen in the years to come. So this is a very important peace initiative, and our colleague John Liebman, who is attending the conference, is very much involved in peace action and education in New York City. He's involved in many of these disarmament groups and conferences. Maybe he'll have a chance to talk a little in the discussion groups about his wonderful leadership in this whole field. So that's a very
Alex, this is John. Could I just mention one thing?
Go ahead, sure.
The treaty to prohibit nuclear weapons also prohibits the threat to you, not only the use of the weapons, but the threat to use the weapons. And, you know, that's very significant because of what we're seeing, as you said, with Putin. When the treaty was negotiated, it was also important with Trump, who threatened North Korea. But the thing I wanted to mention is that in August, in about 2 weeks, the UN is having the 10th review conference for the non-proliferation treaty all month in New York. And Russia and the United States, the nuclear nations, nuclear armed states, are part of the NPT, the non-proliferation treaty. So as you say, this could be an opportunity for some communication, some progress, or it could go the other way. But it probably is no accident. It's been delayed for 2 years, that it's actually occurring in August, in 2 weeks.
Okay, thanks, John, for the update. Yeah, so let's hope that there's some progress made here. All right, I'd just like to conclude with a quotation from Black Elk, the great Native American spiritual teacher of the Lakota Native Americans in the Great Plains. I was teaching a course on Native American spirituality, and this is a beautiful quote that I came upon. He says, "The first peace, which is the most important, is that which comes within the souls of people when they realize their relationship, their oneness with the universe and all its powers. And when they realize that at the center of the universe dwells the Great Spirit, and that this center is really everywhere. It is in each one of us. This is the real peace, and the others are but reflections of this. The second peace is that which is made between two individuals, and the third is that which is made between two nations. But above all, you should understand that there can never be peace between nations until there is known that true peace, which, as I have often said, is within the souls of human beings." So anyway, that's a wonderful sentiment. It's really kind of the essence of macrobiotics, that peace begins with us and radiate out to our family, to our community, to our nation, to our planet as a whole, and then goes back in the other direction. So I hope we can all manifest peace in our individual lives and all of our activities, because it really will make a difference and really lead to the kind of one peaceful world that we're all devoted to. All right, so that concludes it for me, Bettina.
Okay, very good. So thank you, Alex, for these words, and we certainly all hope that we will have peace, or that we will create peace. And as it said in that last quote, I think it is very important that we look within ourselves to begin with that. And give me 1 second here. Let me go to my presentation. Okay, can you see that?
Yes.
Thank you. Now, let me see if I can move this here so that I can get to Okay, so let's talk about the 12 systems of our body. And this is a little bit looking at our physical body, not just as this tool that is doing things, and we're doing things all the time, but really understanding our body as this comprehensive and integrated set of systems that is in constant connection, exchange, and communication with the whole universe, which is really, why when we're looking to make peace within, then we will also have peace without. And this is a little bit of an overview, and then we'll go into the specific slides. But the reproductive system, well, we're born through the reproductive system, so that's the initiator of everything. The muscular system stores our data as our library. The respiratory system is our connection with spirit. The lymphatic system is the cleaning of fluids and emotions. The digestive system brings light into the information going into the body so we can understand it. The skin is, of course, our interaction with and also protection from the outside world. The immune function, assimilating what is outside so we can become something more, something different within. The excretory function, release of things that are no use for our body. That makes sense completely. The endocrine function, the glands in our body, are the doors to our chakras and our inner standing. The bones, where in the marrow the blood is created, they make us flow in our life. The nervous system is the memory of the entire universe within us, and the circulatory system, with the heart as the major organ, is the economy of our system, the constant giving and receiving. So what I have done is I have looked at each of these systems. I will speak a little bit about that. I have also added, stones, looking at stones and looking at foods. What I'm looking at here is by no means complete. And so please, take it as just a little bit of an insight that can help, but let's get started here. So the reproductive system as the initiator of everything. Biologically, of course, the genitals are designed to transmit genetic information for the cells to continue multiplying so that the information remains in the universe eternally. And complex organisms like animals, plants, humans, use both sexual and also asexual reproduction for exchanging energy and transferring data in a consecutive line of energy. So we have sexual reproduction, we have cellular reproduction, we have physical reproduction, emotional, mental reproduction as some of the forms. And of course, the only thing that really exists in the universe is information, aside from a tiny bit of matter and electrical discharge. And the cells in a human body are a way to order and improve the information via modification to ensure the continuity of the information. So cells are a way to order and improve information. Now, if we're looking at the reproductive organs, stones that assist, if we're looking at cellular reproduction especially, then stones that assist proper cellular reproduction, jade is really excellent, and you can see the jade stone, that green stone up here, or unakite is the one below, this multicolored stone, or of course rose quartz, which is a stone like this, which you can find, these are stones that you can either hold, or many stones you can put in water and drink the water to get that information. Okay, so somebody is writing on my screen here. I do not appreciate that. So John, is that John Liebman? I'm asking you to not do that. Foods that are good, of course, for cellular reproduction, we need good quality sea salt. So without salt, the cells don't do well. We need sea vegetables as another source of good minerals, but also wild rice, black beans, dark-colored foods are especially good, as well as edible flowers for the reproductive organ system. And edible flowers, of course, because flowers are the way that the plants reproduce, so also good for our reproductive system. So I don't know how to remove these lines that somebody drew here, so we will have to keep them for right now. Next, let's look at the muscular system. The muscular system stores data and can be considered our library. Any responses in the muscles induced by either conscious thought, I want to get up, then the muscles are ready to do that, or subconscious neural patterns are recorded and stored as data in the muscles. So, of course, the main function of the muscular system is mobility, movement, and flexibility of the whole body, but it is also important for maintaining body temperature. And stones that assist the muscular system, rhodonite, which is that pinkish stone up here, or jadeite, these green balls that you see below. Foods for the muscular system. The muscular system is governed by what is called in the 5 transformations or 5 elements, the soil energy. So foods from the soil energy like millet, chickpeas, round and ground vegetables, as well as other yellow or golden colored foods or vegetables would be very good. And as I said, this is by no means, a complete list, but, just something to start with. Then the respiratory system. The respiratory system is our connection with spirits. Spirare, or spirare in Latin, means to breathe, or the quality of breathing that gives life. Breathing absorbs the subtle or spiritual essences of space, time, and other spiritual channels and returns one's experiences to the universal essence for the purpose of evolving beings with, more information, with transcendental information. The entire universe is a breathing network, constantly contracting and expanding, and thus the respiratory system is a sacred system in the body, reflecting the pulses of the universal mind. And A stone that is very good to assist the respiratory system is lapis lazuli, which is that blue stone here. But really any blue stones will be good for that. If you have problems with that, wearing it, holding it would be very good. Foods, very good for the respiratory system. For example, brown rice, watercress, daikon with greens, radish with tops, lotus root, lotus seeds. Those are just a few. The lymphatic system. The lymphatic system supports our immunity, blood circulation, and our emotions. Does other things, but these are the primary things. A clear lymphatic system can create open channels physically and mentally, so we can trust our intuition more and allow our emotions to flow. The lymphatic channels are distributed throughout the whole body. And unlike the circulatory system, which has a pump the heart, the lymphatic system depends on deep breathing and also physical movement to work properly. And of course, the purpose of this system is to keep our internal systems clean by collecting toxins and waste and getting rid of it. And our lymphatic system works best when we create a positive, loving environment for ourselves where we're not negatively speaking to ourselves all the time. Oh, I'm so stupid. Oh, I don't deserve. Oh, whatever. These kind of things. When we tell ourselves, then the lymphatic system is not going to do very well. And stones that assist the lymphatic system, like agate, and you can see that board of stones on the left with the various kinds of stones. That is agate, different kinds of agate. There are many different kinds of agate, but also tourmaline. Here's a pink tourmaline, a green tourmaline, and by the way, these tourmalines my son cut. My son is a jeweler and cuts stones, and I have to say, I think he does a beautiful job. So, but and foods that help, and of course I cannot even see what it says there. Let me see if I can. No. Whoop, that didn't work. So the foods that are very good, of course, for the lymphatic system would be foods like daikon, ginger, miso soup, anything that has a cleaning effect on the system. All right, let's go forward. So let's next go to the digestive system. The digestive system is basically, opening up the molecules and bringing light into the pieces of information going into the body so we can really understand it, because ultimately we are light beings. And when we, dismantle the molecules, then we come to the atoms, and the atoms, what are they? They are basically like minute solar systems that are full of light. But the digestive system is a factory of energy production to assemble and disassemble products, and it is the main producer or generator of all the products that keep the body alive. And of course, in a healthy digestive system, the largest number of microbes live in harmony or symbiosis. Every cell looks for energy. The more of a reserve of energy we can build up, the more stability the body experiences. Hence, we get hungry and want to eat more. But too much, of course, can be sometimes a problem too. Stones that assist the digestive system, like the yellow stones like citrine or sapphire. Again, both of these my son has cut. Foods that are helpful for the digestive system, any foods that are fibrous, like whole grains, the cabbage family members like cabbage, broccoli, also daikon to clean the digestive system, but also cauliflower, millet, of course, fermented foods for the bacteria, and many others. Then the skin. The skin is interaction and protection with and from the outside world. Whatever we sense in or on the skin, we have to integrate. And of course, while the skin interprets all stimulation via the nervous system as an invasion, consciously desired stimulation like caresses, kisses, and touch, desired touch, are generating all kinds of hormonal reactions which generate heat and spikes of energy in the body, which, make changes, produce changes. Hopefully always for the better. So stones to assist the skin, amethyst, and amethyst is this, this purple-colored stone that I have right here. Azurite, which is the blue stone in the picture. Rose quartz, again, that, rose-colored, pink-colored quartz. Foods that help with the skin. Any foods, of course, that are whole, intact, not peeled or processed. Peeled or processed foods, then that means we don't have the skin anymore. So whole foods would be best for the skin. The immune system. The real work of the immune system is to assimilate what is outside so we can become something different within, so that there's evolution. And we wouldn't have survived for long if our bodies were dedicated to fighting the environment instead of using it to improve and adapt. And so, we have two things going on. On one hand, to keep our organism stable and the whole being in harmony, the immune system uses a defense mechanism to keep the whole being clean and pure for its own survival. In other words, only viruses and bacteria that adhere to the condition of homeostatic life are allowed to live in the body. On the other hand, the immune system is open to receiving viruses and bacteria to improve and upgrade the body system. It doesn't defend first, but allows the foreign substances to implement upgrades in the system, a kind of symbiosis benefiting from each being that inhabits our world. Stones that assist the immune system. Bloodstone, which is like a greenish stone with a little bit of red, and sometimes it's a little bit hard to see here, but has a little bit of red in the stone. So it's a green opaque stone, that's bloodstone. Kunzite is that pink stone on the bottom. Quartz, of course, clear quartz, the one on top. Foods that are good for the immune system. Dark leafy greens because of their high amount of antioxidants. Sea vegetables because of their unusual antioxidants. Sesame seeds, millet, other whole grains, long fermented foods like miso, noboshi, and again, many others as well. The excretory function. This system, of course, is releasing things that are of no use for our body. The small intestine is an extensive pathway where nutrients are absorbed and information is assimilated, but not all nutrients enter the bloodstream. Many parts are rejected because, of their composition, or because of the absorption limit of the intestinal villi. And, everything that the body cannot process must be discharged via feces, urine, flatulence, sweat, tears, nose discharge, because, of course, if it stays in the body, it is harmful. And while our physical excretory function needs to work well, but we also need to pay attention to our psychological excretory function, because of course we eliminate and move away from situations that harm us, but unlike in the physical process, ideas and emotions are likely just, not really looked at, often denied, not really excreted, which means they remain hidden in our psyche, and that often also can make us sick. Often these hidden emotions and ideas are the real ghosts that make us crave certain foods that the body cannot fully process, like an addiction to fast food, sweets, etc. But stones that assist the excretory system, red stones like garnet, like this dark red garnet. Garnet comes in different shades of red, but definitely red. Smoky quartz, here I have a really dark smoky quartz, but some are a little bit more translucent. Red jasper is that stone on top here, that red stone. And of course foods that are helpful, whole grains, all high fiber foods, daikon radish, and many others. Then we have the endocrine system. The endocrine system, the glands in our body are the doors to our chakras and understanding. The endocrine system organs have a specific and fundamental function. They are the portals between the cosmic mind and its manifested attributes. So the endocrine system is responsible for generating hormones that produce chemical reactions in the body, along with emotion, and then prompting us to act, to do something, and generating movement. Emotion alters the nervous system and consciousness, so the mind of the cosmic spirit can express itself in the universal body, meaning in this reality. And if you imagine like the pure white light of the divine mind, the divine spirit that enters you, and the organs, our organs are the cellular crystal prisms that radiate out the rainbow refraction of the prism. And these organs, these prisms are the glands. So certain main glands regulate the frequencies of the spirit into our bodies, into its manifested attributes. And of course the main glands are the pituitary, the pineal, the thyroid, thymus, pancreas, adrenal glands, and the genitals. Stones that assist the endocrine system: amber, which is this stone up here, yellow, golden, amethyst, again this purple colored stone, pink tourmaline, which we have down here. Foods that are helpful are sea vegetables, whole grains, and unfortunately I cannot see the rest of it, what I wrote there, because it's hidden by that bar that I cannot move. The skeletal system. The skeletal systems, the bones are the creators of blood in the bone marrow that makes us flow in our life. The skeleton, of course, is the fundamental architecture of the body, the structure that keeps the whole body standing and on which everything else is built. The bones protect, of course, the nervous system and protecting all the other organs in the body. Stones to assist the skeletal system: selenite, which is sort of a little bit, like an opaque, striated, whitish stone. Rose quartz, again that pink stone, or topaz. This is a topaz, a faceted topaz, which most often, topaz comes in many colors, but white topaz is most helpful for the skeletal system, or clear topaz. Foods, of course, sea vegetables, because of their mineral content. I should say leafy greens, like the spine of the leafy greens, very good. Root vegetables, wild rice, black sesame seeds, dark colored fruits, black beans, all of these are high in antioxidants and minerals. Then the nervous system. The nervous system is the memory of the entire universe within us, connection with everything. Nerve cells, called neurons, have a different development than other cells in our body. They don't divide like other cells. They don't multiply nor share genetic material. Once created, there is no room for new development, and they age with the person. So from the first 7 weeks of pregnancy, a fetus begins to produce up to 250,000 neurons per minute. That's a huge amount. 250,000 neurons per minute for the rest of the pregnancy and into the first month after birth. After adolescence, this production begins to decrease, although thousands of new neurons never stop appearing even when we're 90 years or older. So, that is something else to consider. And this, of course, allows memory because each cell stores the assimilated data and always remains in the network, even though, of course, the original data can be modified. But neurons are the channels or eternal bridges, the closest thing that we can understand perhaps as original essence. Stones that assist the nervous system: charoite, which is this purplish colored stone here; sunstone, which is sometimes more orange, sometimes more reddish. This is more sunset color right now. Sapphire, of course, coming in many colors, but blue is very helpful. Diamond also. Foods that are helpful for the nervous system: whole grains primarily, but especially also whole wheat, whole oats, brown rice. Sea vegetables, again, the cabbage family foods such as kale, collards, etc. And then finally the circulatory system. The circulatory system, as I said, is the economy of our system, the giving and receiving. The circulatory system is like the universal system that distributes its energy to all living beings. This system generates the circulation to reach everywhere inside the body through a complex system of small pathways and larger channels. Of course, the heart is the most recognized part of that system. The heart is a muscle with specialized cells and neurons which receive and send electrical pulses to contract and stretch the organ cells, creating that way a heartbeat. And the heart is the engine that circulates all fluids and nutrients that feed the body and give energy. And the interesting thing is that the heart and intestines both have their own neurons, as these two essential centers for life need to know how to make their own decisions without 100% relying on the brain. I think this is also very interesting. So the heart feels and thinks, and nothing would reach its destination without it. So stones that assist the circulatory system: red stones like ruby, like the top here, red jasper, rose quartz again. Foods that are helpful like red radishes, summer foods, corn on the cob, green beans, snap peas, lettuce, large leafy greens, a little bit bitter tasting foods, things like that. So these systems and structures and patterns of our bodies are the tools and guideposts for our expansion in the universe. And when we become more self-aware, when we become more self-knowing and have more wisdom, then we can use our own body technology to make changes in the world, and not only by, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, but literally by just sensing our different systems in our body and making changes there, and then seeing the reflection outside as well. Okay, and I think, yeah, this is bringing me to the end of my show here. Very good. All right, so I think this will, this is the part that we have covered, and we are running, of course, a little bit later than we had expected or anticipated, but that doesn't matter. Danka, would you like to, or Alex, would you like to go first?
Yeah, thank you, Bettina, for your illuminating presentation. Thank you so much. All right, yeah. Usually when we have a conference like this, we like to honor some of our friends and associates who have passed on since our last meetings together. And so I'd like to give a tribute this evening to Rod House, who passed away a little less than a month ago. I think some of the older friends here may remember Rod. Rod was one of the great original pioneers of American macrobiotics. And in fact, I have his picture. Can I share that, Bettina?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, Rod first met Michio Kushi in 1965 when he came to Boston. And he then went back. He was so inspired by talking with Michio and Aveline that he went back to Philadelphia, where he was an art student. And he set up the first macrobiotic center in Philadelphia. And among his first students was a young man by the name of Denny Waxman, who then later went on to become a leading counselor and teacher. In fact, we'll be speaking at our conference this week. Back in Boston, where Rod then later moved in the, I guess, late 60s and early 70s, and he worked closely with Michio and Aveline, and he was one of the original instructors for the Kushi Institute in Boston, and then later out in the Berkshires. And he taught not only art, but he taught shiatsu, he taught palm healing, and he was an excellent chef. In fact, he was a traveling cook for Michio and Aveline for many years, not for them, but for their clients. So he'd go around the country. Michio would make the recommendations and consultations, and then Rod would go out and cook for them. And then later, in the early 80s, Rod moved out from Boston, where he was teaching on the faculty of an art college. He came out to the Berkshires, and he was one of the first of the macrobiotic teachers here in the Berkshires. And he started a restaurant called Ginga. It was the first macrobiotic restaurant in Western Massachusetts here. And it's a beautiful restaurant. Ginga is the Japanese name for the Milky Way, and there's a beautiful fairy tale, folk tale associated with that name. So for many years, that was the premier restaurant in the Berkshires. And Rod and his wife, Gloria, they managed it. They were the head chefs. They ran the sushi bar and did everything. It was really kind of a golden age here in the Berkshires. And then after that, Rod focused more on his poetry and his art than over the next period. And he had many art exhibitions here in the Berkshires and around Massachusetts and in Boston. It's a really lovely artwork. And he would periodically continue to give special art classes at the Kushi Institute. And so when I returned in, I don't know, 2013 or 14. We had him out several times to teach the levels and other friends. So he was really active up until the end. He was in his late 80s, almost 90 years old. And so really a wonderful example of living a great life, macrobiotic life. I have just one personal anecdote I can share with you. I remember years ago in Boston, at one point, Rod kind of startled everyone because he started dressing up as a samurai, and he wore one of those samurai robes, and he had the big raised shoes that they wore, the wooden shoes, and he carried a long samurai sword, and he used to hang out in Brookline Village near the East-West Journal, where I was an editor, and the East-West Foundation, where Ed was one of the managers. And he really caused a sensation in the community because he would stand there on a street corner looking totally authoritative, but he was like in the wrong century. And I think as an artist, it was kind of a reflection of what we call performance art, or maybe Dada, that kind of art movement in early 20th century, that kind of street theater. Anyway, he was really quite a character. And I think in that case, he raised so provocative that somebody finally prevailed on Aveline to kind of have a talk with him. And she was, I think, able to bring him in from the cold, so to speak. And maybe she directed him to the Aikido dojo or something where he would feel more at home. But anyway, he was a wonderful person, and so he'll be greatly missed. So I'm not aware of any other friends who passed away since our winter conference, but maybe some of our audience, if you're aware of somebody who's passed away and would like to mention their names or say a few words, please, now is the opportunity, and then we can have a brief prayer. So is there anybody else that in the greater community?
When did Warren Kramer passed away?
Well, of course, Warren passed away about a year ago, and we had a special session for him. Yeah, of course, Warren, and then Ed passed away in December, and we recognized him also at a special memorial at our last conference. But since then, anybody else that we're aware of? I know Mark Hanna also passed away, and we recognized him. Well, if not, I guess that's perhaps a good sign, showing that our teachers are relatively long-lived, and hopefully we'll enjoy many, many more years. But anyway, let's join together for just a moment of silence to remember, send our thoughts and prayers to Rod and to Warren and Ed and everyone else in our greater community who has passed on. And I don't know if they can live stream this, but we're thinking of them as well. So just a moment.
Very good. Danka, did you want to say a few words?
Well, we have decided to move my part to Sunday in the end, because we are running quite late now, and it will also fit there better probably.
Okay. Then I think we will bring this conference to a close, and just hoping that you have enjoyed and gotten, not bring this conference, bring this session to a close, and hope that you have gotten something out of it this evening, and looking forward to seeing many, if not most of you, tomorrow morning or actually tomorrow afternoon. The first session starts at 1:30. So tomorrow we will start at 1:30, whereas on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday we will start at 11. So just, be aware that tomorrow we'll start a little bit later, but the other following days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it's at 11. Every day, as I said, at 9 o'clock. For those of you that are attending the full conference, you should have the Zoom link in your inbox. And in that Zoom link, you will also find a link to the recipes for each day. And so we wish you all a very good night. And see you hopefully tomorrow.
You are
Good night.
Good
Thank
night.
you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Sleep tight.
Bettina.
See you again soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Lena.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Good night.
Good
Good
night.
night. Thank you.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye.
Okay, let me just.